Hello dear viewers, you're watching RTD's English News Edition, the major stories. The inauguration of a new drilling at Kelaf in the Tajora region. On internationally, Chinese President Xi Jinping visit to Rwanda. Thank you for joining us in our newsroom. The Minister of Housing and Environment, Mr. Musa Mohammed Ahmed, went yesterday to the region of Tajora to see the implementation of climate adaptation projects. In his trip, the minister was accompanied by the Deputy Minister of Decentralization, Hamadou Mohamed Aramis, the Prefect of Tajora, Abdul Malik Mohamed Bonaita, and his main collaborators, including Mr. Hussein Virash, Director of the Environment. First, the ministerial delegation went to the Kelaf locality to inaugurate a new drilling located near the village. This drilling was carried out under the project titled Implementation of Adaptation Technologies in the Fragile Ecosystems of the Djibouti Central Plains. It will improve access to water for the Kelaf population in its device. Until now, the village of Kelaf was supplied with water but by a well made by the Ministry of Agriculture as part of the project of Pradermo. Also participating in this inauguration were the senior officials of the Ministry of the Environment and the customary chiefs of Kelaf. The executive and technicians of the drilling company briefly explained to the delegation that the Kelaf well has a depth of 130 and throughput of 45 cubic meters. The drilling water is good quality because the salinity is less than 0.5 grams. The pressure of the water at the outlets of the pipe testifies, they say, to the high flow of the well. The populations, especially the women of Kelaf, also thanked the government and the Ministry of Housing for this drilling, which will supply water. Then in turn, the Prefect of the Tajora region thanked the Minister in charge of the Environment for the effort made by his department to fight against the effects of climate change by providing water to the population of the Kelaf sector. As for the minister in charge of decentralization, made a speech in which he thanked his colleague in charge of the environment for having associated him with this event. This drilling will answer the crucial lack of water that knows this locality, he said. The minister in charge of the environment, Musa Mohammed Ahmed, mentioned that the drilling of Kelaf village is the result of the actions led by his department through the project of implementation of adaptation technologies in the fragile ecosystems of the central plains of Djibouti. Our actions, he said, are not limited to the realization of this drilling, but is also programmed to perform several other activities around the forest to relieve the population of water problems. Drilling is valued with the creation of agriculture perimeters for the benefit of the population of the sector, he said. The 12th annual joint meeting between the Peace and Security Council of the African Union and the United Nations Security Council, co-chaired by Sweden and Togo with the participation of United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, took place on July 19 in New York at the United States of America. During this important meeting, the situation in southern Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo was discussed, as well as the question of financing peacekeeping operations in Africa with a mandate from the Security Council and operated by the African Union, such as the African Union Mission in Somalia and MISOM. The Republic of Djibouti, members of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, was represented by Mr. Mohamed Idris Farah, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Djibouti to Ethiopia, and Permanent Representative to the African Union and the Commission of Economic for Africa. And now let's get back to the national news. The best graduates of the 2018 promotion of baccalaureate were directly sent to the Sunny Hill Center after the graduation ceremony in Kampeski, where a warm welcome was given to them by all the staff of the Art Center. It must be emphasized that this is the gift of the Minister of National Education to these candidates who have distinguished themselves by their work and their convincing results. Arrived on the spot, the laureates thus met with the MENFAB officials to validate together a program rich in sporting and cultural activities and various specialties to optimize their stay in football, volleyball, table tennis, swimming, karaoke, as well as movies. The students also competed against each other in football, and the Young Champions competition where school and general culture questionnaires were offered to them. The two finals were held on Friday, after which the winning teams won a cup. For the pleasure of its distinguished guests, the restaurant at the Sunny Hill Center offers varied menus during these 2 days, as well as a large chocolate cake prepared by the center's pastry chef and dedicated to their success. It was a moment of exchanges of experience and sharing between these candidates coming from all sides. Their success has brought them together, created and bonded. The Ministry of Health launched this yesterday the vaccination campaign against measles in the municipality of Belbela, specifically in the neighborhoods of Hayablé and PK12. This vaccination campaign acts as a response to recent outbreak of measles cases in our hospitals, whose focus of infection is concentrated in these areas of Hayablé and PK12. Indeed, a dozen teams of vaccinators and recorders and social mobilizers invested early in the morning neighborhoods to immunize all children from 6 months to 5 years old. Focused on a proactive strategy of preventive immunization, this vaccination campaign aims to reach all children living in the areas primarily targeted and with high potential for contagion through the establishment of fixed positions installed in these popular neighborhoods. The village of Rwanda hosted a prize-giving ceremony for Rwanda high school students who had very good grades at PF 2018, organized by Rwanda's network of association in partnership with the Rwanda's Community Development Center. The event was a tribute to the former director of the Rwanda school, Mr. Ahmed Hamadou, today Inspector of National Education. This day was marked by the presence of the network committee and local authorities. The morning was devoted to a lively debate on the education and supervision of a school from the Rwanda region. Through their interventions, participants highlighted the importance of education and Rwanda's role in youth in local and regional development. Mr. Ali Burri Ali, 80 years old, has been missing for a week and his family is still looking for him. Mr. Ali Burri Ali has memory loss problems. He is a former free zone employee whose neighborhoods he continued to frequent because of this illness. According to the latest information, Burri was seen in front of the port of Djibouti last Thursday. He wears a plaid shirt and hat as in the picture, and please contact the following numbers: 7722 22 59 or 7713 98 70 or 7741 47 19, and again 7742 66 and 99. And now moving on to the international news. Togo, street demonstrations banned from July 23 to August 1. More with Mohamed Aden.
The Minister of Security and Civil Protection has in a statement read on the national television banned all street demonstrations from July 23 to August 1st in Togo, while the opposition coalition is crisscrossing the cities that until then are banned from demonstrations, to the general surprise, while the facilitator invited the Togolese government to study the possibility of extending the right to demonstrate to the entire national territory. It is a statement by General Damhem Yak announcing the ban of all demonstrations of violence, straight from July 23 to August 1st, period during which the Togolese capital hosted several international meetings that require, according to the minister, serenity to work. Lomé welcomes this week the meeting of experts from the Agency for the Safety of Air Navigation in Africa and Madagascar, the joint meeting of ministers of the Economic Community of African States, the West, and those of the Economic Community of the Central African State as a prelude to the summit of heads of state of the two zones, July 13 to 23. The ban on demonstrations is causing surprise in public opinion, especially since the opposition coalition has scheduled public meetings through the country until 29 July. Do not panic, General Yak Damhem reassured the coalition. The coordinator told us the meeting of Sevier, Atakpe, and Palime are not concerned, yet Brigitte Kafui Jamabo Johnson does not understand. We cannot understand, she says, that because of international meeting, we want to ban a constitutional right. For her, this is proof that we are not in a democracy.
Chinese President Xi Jinping visit to Rwanda, a long bilateral history. More in this video.
After Senegal, it's with Rwanda that the Chinese president continues his tour on the African continent this Sunday, July 22, 2018, a two-day visit to meet Paul Kagame, the head of the Rwandan state, who is also the president of the African Union. There will be a lot of investment and infrastructure. Both countries have 40 years of uninterrupted bilateral relations behind them. When China is accused of focusing on Africa only for its mineral and arable land, Rwanda is often portrayed as the country example, yet it was by investing in the agricultural sector that Beijing set foot in the country in 1971. But also already in the construction of infrastructure, this Chinese interest in Rwanda has never faltered since then. The People's Republic of China has never broken ties with the Rwandan state, including during the genocide. Today, in Rwanda, China's investment and constructions are visible everywhere, from ministries to hospitals, but also factories of textile, cement. Beijing remains supply of crude in Rwanda. It was still true in the first quarters of 2018, which could make the Rwandan economy dependent on the variations of the Chinese currency. On the other hand, Rwanda exports little to China. If in 2014 China accounted for 20% of import in Rwanda, it accounted for less than 5% of Rwandan export. But according to a report by the World Bank 2016, these figures remain questionable. The Bretton Woods Organization found that at the time Kigali claimed to have exported 8 million worth of goods to China, but over the same period China was more than 10 times larger for its Rwandan import, nearly 92 million, essentially coltons and tungsten, Rwanda's main export mineral, note the report.
The Forbidden City in China has received more than 100 million visitors since 2012. Explanations.
Forbidden City has received more than 100 million visitors since 2012. The Palace Museum of Forbidden City has received more than 100 million visitors since January 2012, the museum said. In order to avoid an excessive influx of visitors during the high season, the museum has capped at 18 the numbers of visitors per day in June 2015 against more than 180,000 in the past. This control of the number of visitors aimed at protecting the security of the cultural patrimony and that of the visitor. The museum will further improve its management and will launch a pilot ticket sale planned during certain times of the day in 2019, said Chan Jinshan, museum director. A world-class cultural heritage housing priceless works of art and artifact. The Palace Museum is must-see for tourists and has a record of 16.7 million visitors in 2017.
And to wrap up this edition with, in Japan, a deadly heat wave hit the city. Details in this video.
More than 35 degrees more than this Sunday in Tokyo, the capital of Japan, hit like other city of the archipelago by a heat wave that killed 15 people during the first 2 weeks of July, while more than 12 people were hospitalized. It was up to 38 degrees in Kyoto, 14 in Nagoya region. Prevention measures are spread through the country, while this episode of heat wave must continue in the coming days. Last week, a 6-year-old boy died of heat stroke during a school trip.
And that's all for this edition. Thank you for joining us on RTD and have a good night.